All right, square roots. So square roots, these do come into the language of algebra again. And the idea is this. Recall that when we have 4 times x plus 3, we can write this is 4 next to the parentheses x plus 3. Once again, the multiplication sign is invisible. It's still there. With square roots, it's the same thing. Suppose we have this. 2 times the square root of 9. What you'll encounter in algebra is this written as 2 square root 9. And once again, there's an invisible multiplication sign. So the way we handle this, with order of operations, we compute the square root of a number before we add anything to it, multiply or divide or subtract. We go for the square root first, then we can do everything else. So what's the square root of 9? Well, since 3 times 3 is 9, then that means the square root of 9 is 3. Square root means there's a pair of numbers that multiply to give us that 9. The square root is, what number was that was multiplied to itself? That's square root. So the square root of 9 is 3. And now, since we have a number times a number without a square root, now that multiplication sign, it now reveals itself. It's always been there. And so the answer is 6. So when there's a number in front of a square root like this, it means multiplication. And when we compute our square root, that multiplication now needs to step forward and remind you, hey, there's a multiplication sign here. This means 2 times 3. It's not the number 23. So here's a formula. Suppose we have this. 4 invisible times the square root of a squared plus a b squared. So if you recall order of operations, in square roots, we've got to turn this into a number first, then take the square root, and then we can apply arithmetic from the outside. So suppose we did this for a. Let a be 3, and say we chose b to be 4. All right. Well, y equals 4 times the square root. Replace a with 3, so this is now 3 squared, plus b is now 4, so this is now 4 squared. So we want to turn this into a number, and then we'll take its square root, and then we'll multiply by 4. So 3 squared, that's 3 times 3, that's 9. Remember, we do the exponents, then we'll add. Adding, we won't do that until we've done the exponents. Now, 4 squared, 4 times 4, that's what that means, 16. And 9 plus 16 is 25. Now, you could put this number into your calculator, and you might get a decimal number. That's okay. We'll just take that decimal number and multiply it by 4. But in this case, if you put square root 25 in your calculator, you're going to get 5. So remember, this is 4 times the square root. And once we compute the square root, it goes away. So we got to put in, well, we got to bring out that multiplication sign. Square root of 25 is 5. And at the very end, we do the multiplication. And there's 20. And that's it. So any questions about that, let me know.